Last week, Tracy and I were privileged to experience an event out in our nation's capital, and it was a graduation ceremony. And one of the speakers got up there and talked about team development, and his analogy on what it means to be a team was something that we needed to hear very, very, very much so. And because what we've been experiencing in so many dental offices lately is team members who do not know the meaning of the word team. And we begin our podcast right there.
Computers are live, mixer is up, levels are good. Equalizer is good, ready channels 1 and 2. Mic is live in 3, 2, 1, roll it. Welcome listeners to the My Practice, My Business podcast, where we teach dentists and their teams how to reclaim forgotten profitability in dentistry with our clinical business of dentistry training. And now, the host of our show, the clinical director at My Practice, My Business, Dr. Rob Thorup.
Before I get into team development today, and before I get into what it means to be a team, I really want to talk about our experience and this graduation event just a little bit. I have to be careful what I talk on, otherwise I'll get in trouble. But it was an absolutely amazing experience. If you have not been out to the nation's capital, jump on a plane and just go and experience all the museums and the history back there, and go visit the Capitol building, the White House, all the memorials. It was just awe-inspiring. I have not been out there for umpteen years. Last time I was out there, I was 21 years of age. So I really recommend doing it. Tracy and I were sitting after touring for a couple of days, we're sitting at the Lincoln Memorial. And what a fantastic place that was. Reading all the inscriptions and looking out over the entire landscape. And as I looked out, I saw the Washington Monument, and I saw the Capitol, and I saw, you could see the top of the White House, you could see the Pentagon. We drove past the Department of Justice and the FBI building, and the building where the CIA resides, but you're not supposed to know the CIA resides there. And I'm like, I sat there, and after watching a graduation with an auditorium filled with families supporting these wonderful, our nation's best young men and young women, and I thought to myself, for all you politicians out there, yes, I'm going to get political for 1 second, and then I'm going to get into it. I thought to myself, all you politicians out there, would you guys just shut up? Stop complaining. Stop whining about each other. Just do your damn job. Just shut up and do your job. It's that simple. All of these men and all these men and women who put their lives on the line for you and I each and every day, keeping our nation safe, and the things that they do to do that are unbelievable. And all the families and the spouses, the children, the support, these wonderful men and women in all the branches of the military and other agencies, and all the way down to the local law enforcement, first responders in our fire departments. It's like, will you guys just do your job? Anyway, I just had an aha moment out there, and there's just so much hatred back in Washington, and they all just need to learn how to just love one another and do their jobs. Anyway, that's my preaching for the day, and I hope you don't mind that. And if you do, I really don't care, because that's a truth, and I think you can all dig it. So anyway, it's like team development. Oh, so many offices. Stop it. Office managers, hygienists, assistants, and the doctor. Stop not being a team member. Be a team player. This analogy that I heard during the graduation ceremonies, this gentleman got up there and he spoke about when he was in college, and he was on a rowing team. Now, that's something I'd never even think about. But one of the things that Okay, I was a river guide, so I can't say that I didn't row a lot throughout my lifespan at some point in time. But, excuse me, I'm laughing and choking here at the same time. What's really interesting is I love watching the Olympics. I love watching rowing, the rowing events. Those are phenomenal. But I didn't realize what he taught us. On a rowing team, if you've got an individual who's slacking, that boat is going to have grief. And in addition to that, if you have a team member on that boat that tries to, here I come to save the day, the maximum rower, I'm going to row this thing by myself. If you have that individual that tries to be the overachiever on the team, that boat's got problems. It's not going to win. That hit me so hard because that's the problem that we're seeing. We're seeing too many people in the dental offices we're seeing like there'll be one individual. No, I'm not doing it. And it's really interesting because sometimes it's with teams that have come through our training, but there will be that one individual that didn't make it to training for whatever reason, and they all went back to train him or her. Or there will be an individual that's brand new in the team who's never been through our training, who comes in with all their bad habits from other offices. So, docs, if you're listening and you've been through our training, send that individual back through our course and for a refresher, and let's get them on the same page because they're the ones that destroy the practice. So when you look at a team, you've got to have that person. That person in your front office that hasn't been through training or comes with baggage from other practices, they lack the vision. They can't see that vision of success. They didn't come to the training. So from vision, you have to go to a mission. What is our mission in our practice? Well, that's to be profitable. What's the strategy to get there? Well, that's what we teach you guys is the strategies. And then we help you with that action plan comes next. Your plan of action. On Monday, you start implementing it after you've been through a week of training, and then you see success. Every one of our practices that have been through our training, that's the cycle they go through. So when you have all these employees, when we go through, 1-star employee to 5-star employees, 1-star work is just a social gathering. They can take it or leave it. They don't care. Then you have the 2-star employee, and they're there just to get a paycheck. And you have the 3-star employee. That person works hard as long as it doesn't interfere with family, church, vacation, their hair or their nail appointment, the gym, sleep, food, Netflix, etc. Then you have the 4-star employee. And they'll do whatever it takes as long as it's moral, legal, and doesn't interfere with their family or church callings. And I like 4-star employees. And the 5-star employer, they're the ones that will do whatever it takes as long as it's moral, legal, and the job comes first. And that can be an individual who's married and has a family, or they don't have a family. And they're single. I love the 4- and 5-star employees. 1s and 3s, fire them, get rid of them. In your practice, you talk about salaries and bonuses and accountability and performance. All these things come into play. A lot of consultants just beat on this. We don't. And it's just simple. Dental practices have carrying capacities, and we teach you guys the teams have to have ownership, and that comes in the form of a base salary plus commission. It's that simple. And then there's the it's not my job type person. Yeah, that's not a good accountability. And then we have a metrics of measurement that we teach you guys that, if you get fired, team member, don't blame me. You're the one that did that. We teach about servant leadership in team development. What is it, and how do we become servant leaders, and why is that important? And what happens is when we teach offices to cross-train individuals, then they become servant leaders. Then it's like the assistant will go up front and help the front office file stuff or scan stuff into the patient's chart. The hygienist will go and clean up a room if he or she's not busy. They'll go clean a room up after a procedure that the doc and the assistant did. They'll scrub instruments. And the front office will go in the back, especially like at the end of the day if they're all caught up, and they'll help clean up so everybody can get out of there and get home to their families, right? And you have to have a policy handbook with any kind of a team, And why do we have rule books, that keep everybody on the same page? Everybody's accountable. And what's defined in that policy handbook? You have to have job descriptions. You have to have information on time off and sick days. Why? So everybody is held to the same standard, right? What if someone isn't a team player? They take too much time off, or they sick all the time, or they're late all the time. Write them up, and we teach, you have a 3-strike policy. 3 strikes, you're out of here. And you made that decision, not me or anyone else. If you're not being a team player, you made that decision. So when you have a team, you've got to meet and you got to be on the same page. Look at a football team. How many times do they meet during a game? On every down. They huddle. They have team huddles. They come together, right? Well, we're like, once a month, we try to have our team meetings once a month where we cover a lot of information and go over protocols. And sometimes you'll get off course. That's what those monthly team meetings are for. And they're goal-oriented, and you talk about your systems, and you just sharpen everybody's skills. The morning huddles is just, you go over the schedule. Look who's coming in. Talk about patient needs. Look at your stats. Where are we? What's our goal today? When everyone in the ranks can articulate this vision, success follows. So if you can't envision where the practice should be, you got to start dreaming. What is your vision of success? And where vision lacks, confusion will always prevail. So you have to have a picture of perfect success. It has to, you try to obtain perfection, but understand perfection doesn't happen. But when you have that vision of what it should look like, it will engage the heart and the spirit of your team members. And it has to be simple. It has to be attainable. And it's got to be able to change and move over time, because change happens. So how do you lead change? Well, you have to realize that because change happens, if we resist, we will fail. Meaning, if we're still practicing 1974 dentistry in our practices, 1990 dentistry in our practices, 2005 dentistry in our practices, you're going to have problems. Adaptation causes us to change while change is happening. That's why dentistry is going digital more and more. We have to adapt to that change because the consumer expects it. So leading change makes it possible, it makes it happen. And why does the consumer expect it? Because they're smart. They have Google. Well, when you recognize change happens, you have to sit down and have 3 things to make that happen. You have to have an objective, a goal to engage that change in dentistry and to move forward. You have to have a strategy, and that's your plan to achieve the objective of whatever that goal might be, like going with a CBCT machine. You have to have tactics, devices to obtain the strategy. How are we going to get a return on investment on that new technology? You have to empower others to help you lead change, meaning position, expertise, and credibility helps change. But office managers, if you think you know everything, you don't. You don't. And we appreciate your expertise in your position. But if you go to our training and you learn new business skills and tactics, lead that change with your newfound knowledge. Empower others to share the responsibility. Don't piss in all 4 corners of your front office there and not allow team members to come in and help you. Help you. Sharing responsibility and delegation is the first sign of a true leader. Sharing responsibility makes friends, and it builds good relationships with your team members. So sometimes, though, we have no choice on our team because at the current moment, we have no choice. And it's like, what do? Well, you move ahead regardless, doc. Team members, sometimes there's not another doctor to work for in the valley there, so you move ahead regardless. But you keep being persistent. Sometimes people... You be persistent with truths and facts, and sometimes some people are so resistant to change that you might not be able to bring them along. And you encourage them. You be a leader, and you encourage them. And if it gets to the point where they will not change, then you fire them. You get rid of them. You move on. That's a type 3 employee, type 2 employee, type 1 employee. You don't want those on your team. Keep looking. Keep looking. Lead change based on values and mission and vision. Your vision is where and what do you want to do? I want the team pulling forward with our new knowledge. If I buy a new widget, I want everybody to learn about it. I want to streamline my office so that my front office, my back office aren't just doing a bunch of busy work. I want them to find ways to streamline their jobs and make them easier. That's the vision. Mission is a plan to accomplish that vision. And values, those are the things that are important to you. Those are your belief system. But Doc, sometimes your belief system is out there in prehistoric dental land. Get up to date. Get up to date. Establish urgency, Doc. You need to jump in with both feet with technology. You can't wait until you're completely ready. You can't wait to, oh my gosh, we can't do too many things at the same time. Shoot, just jump in with both feet. When I shouldn't use myself as an example, but I did. It's truth. I'm going to just lay it out there, okay? I'd already been using CAD/CAM technology, and I went from E4D to PrimeScan. And I also bought a Planmeca CBCT machine at the same time. Yeah, I was buried. I'll admit it. I was digging myself out of how to use everything all at the same time. But you just take a deep breath, step back, and take it and use your leadership skills. Okay, we're going to take this one step at a time, but this technology is fantastic. We need it, okay? You can't wait till you're completely ready. If you have a plan, execute it. Yeah, I'm going to get both machines. I'm going to learn how to use them. That was my plan. And it's not rushed. It's not a rushed item if you have a plan. So lead by example. Sometimes you have to enter first, Doc. You have to enter first. When you create a culture in your practice that embraces change and embraces leadership like that, change is easy when you've been successful with change. And it's got to be fun with a purpose, right? Do not embrace the status quo. That'll kill you every single time. And so when you lead with change, you have to lead with education and teaching. Teaching, Doc. All of you have to teach. We teach with the EDGE method. EDGE stands for explain. So we had the guy in from Planmeca explaining to us how to use the machine. I did need a lot of explaining. So Griff from Planmeca was fantastic. He came in and he keeps coming back and teaching us each and every time little tricks with the Planmeca machine. But he saw what our needs were, what we wanted to use it for. And so he taught us just enough to be dangerous there. And he keeps coming back and teaching us more, and it's fantastic. And then same with the CAD/CAM. The instructor that Patterson had there at their local facility here in Salt Lake, that doc was great. He with how he taught, and then the trainer with Patterson here, Christine, she was fantastic and still a good resource to go to whenever we have a question. So they would demonstrate. They explained, and then they demonstrated. That's how we need to teach in our offices. And then G stands for guide on the EDGE method, and then E is enable. Enable. Doc, do you know how to explain, demonstrate, and guide and enable the things that the office manager does in case you lose an office manager? Exactly. You're the CEO of the company. You should know how to enter EOBs. You should know how to enter payments. Office managers, take the doc up there and teach them. Teach them and train them. Well, with team organization and development, you've got 4 areas. Whenever you master something new, you have to go through the stages of team development. Those stages are forming, storming, norming, and performing. Forming is everybody's excited. We're going to get CAD/CAM. We're going to get CAD/CAM. We're going to get a CBCT. It's going to be cool. And you know what? Your enthusiasm's high, but your skills suck. This requires a lot of explaining by leaders, by people like Christine and Griff, who will come in from the companies and teach you, and they have to tell and persuade you that you don't know everything. And I'm sure Griff and Christine are going, "Wow, Rob really hit that on the head. He just explained himself." I did. It's like I feel sorry for people that come in and have to put up with me teaching me, because I like to be taught with a fire hose. That's how I'm used to it. And I don't want to be taught with baby steps. The next stage is storming. Why do they call it storming? Because it's a big storm. Your enthusiasm drops because you're actually having to learn how to do, learning how to run the stuff that you're doing. It's like, do we have to learn something new again in the office? Really? I know you team members. I know how you are. I've been doing this a long time. Really? Yes, you got to learn something new. And that requires a lot of demonstrating. So it's like not persuading, demonstrating and consulting. That storming stage is what you have to get past, because you can't, until you get past that learning phase, you're going to be in the water. You're just underwater. You just are. You got to rise above it. And then comes the norming. This is where the enthusiasm gets high. This is when you do your first 3-unit bridge on the CAD cam and it actually worked. And you did your first shade and it was like beautiful. This is where you actually took a CBCT and you didn't have a lot of artifact everywhere. These are the things that norming is exciting, and that takes a lot of guidance and coaching. Now, and you have to help people continue to learn, but your leadership style is consulting and delegating at that stage in the game when the team starts figuring it out. And then you all hit the performing stage. That's where you know enough to not just be dangerous, but you've actually mastered the skills of whatever new technology you've brought in, or new procedure that you've done, or new business principles that you've learned in the front office there, OMs, and you know how to engage it. Because why? Because it means that it's a bigger bonus for you each and every month, quarter, year, however your doc decides to do it. So at that performing stage, everybody has high enthusiasm. Everybody has high skills, because everybody's pulling together as a team, and everybody's job matters, and everybody gets bonus the same. After you go through those stages of team development and learning, each and every time, each month, we have reflections. It's where team members, they conduct a reflection to conclude what that event was that they did and what they learned. It's input from everybody, and everybody's accepted and respected for their input. Yeah, that was really tough doing both those machines at the same time. Can we not do that again, Dr. Rob? Those are the things that you might hear. This is called start, stop, continue in the reflection. You apply that. You start doing the things that increase success and profitability in your practice. You stop doing the things that maintain the status quo, doc, and office manager and everybody else. And you continue doing the things that are working. Continue doing the things that are working. Not the status quo things, not the things that you think that you only should be doing. No. In the military, they call that an after-action report. Isn't that interesting? Well, do you want to be a leader or do you want to be a follower? Leaders are ordinary people who simply do what other people are not willing to do to achieve extraordinary success. And that success might be, ridge preservation on every extraction so that there's enough bone to put any size implant you want in there. What a concept. Be a leader, not a follower. That was grilled into me by my 5th grade teacher, who happened to be my 6th grade teacher also. She flipped from 5th to 6th grade. So I got it for 2 years. Rob, be a leader, not a follower. I don't know. Maybe there's a reason why she told me that. I don't know. What works for large corporations, you guys, can work for small dental practices. That's right. We're no different. Becoming great begins with a conscious decision to be great. We all have a moment of truth at some point in time. We should never be willing, ever be willing to settle for complacency. This is called branding. It's branding your practice with success, branding your practice with thought leadership and team development. And a lot of people get this confused. They think it's the name of your practice, your logo, your marketing. They think that's your brand. No, that is not your brand. Your brand is who you are. It's what you promise your patients and your staff, doc. And staff, it's what you promise each other. And it's your ability to keep that promise. That is your brand. Isn't that interesting? Well, folks, every time we go through team development, we buy new technology, we go to courses where we learn how to better ourselves. It's interesting because you have to decide to go. And there's a go, no-go decision. And deciding to go is usually the first step to greatness. But unfortunately, it's also the first stumbling block. Some practices decide not to go ever. They'll go to training. They'll buy CAD/CAM. It will sit in the corner. You guys know who you are. They'll get a CBCT, but they'll just take panels on it. We'll get around to taking 3D images. Really? So they never make the decision to change. That's the problem. They talk about it. They hold some meetings. They write some mission and vision statements. That's about it. It's fun to do the impossible. We have practices out there right now that have been to our introductory courses we talk to. And it's so amazing. We get a handful of practices, about 20% of the practices, which is a great closure rate, people, whenever you're doing sales. 20% of the practices will jump right on the training. They'll go for it. And the other 80% sit out there and they don't know how to make that go, no-go decision. And they'll flounder, and then they usually don't go. And the amount of revenue that they're losing each and every month from not going through our training, unbelievable. There's a guy who owns 10, 11 practices, and he's still trying to decide whether he should make this happen or not make it happen. And I'll just tell you guys right now that each and every month, there's about $200,000 of lost revenue minimally. And I just cringe. I'm like, I don't know what else to say. We've presented you everything that we have for you to be exceptional. And it's just the old saying, you can lead a horse to water, you can't make him drink, right? Go, no-go decisions. It's not just with our training people. It's with technology. It's with hiring and firing individuals who aren't, hiring individuals we should have on our team, firing individuals that shouldn't be on the team. And team members. It's hiring and firing the dentist you work for. Because if that dentist is prehistoric and doesn't want to change, and you see a vision of greatness that you can have for a practice, that makes you a valuable asset. Maybe you need to change too. Well, extraordinary practices make a clearly defined decision to go. They decide to make commitments that take hold in their practice, become real with their level of knowledge and training, and they define a clear level of success. That's what they do. Excuse me there. There are 5 key business decisions to go. And by the way, customer service is an attitude. It's not a department. There's 5 key business decisions to go. 1, maximize your active patient base. You don't need a bazillion patients to have a very successful practice. I've taught that over and over again. I have about 1,250 active patients. That's it. We do $1.2 million in net revenue and collections every year on that patient base. You don't need a huge patient base. And that's not doing full mouth cases, people. That's need-based dentistry each and every day. 2, do those things that build relationships with your patients. Actually go out and talk to them in the reception area. Get to know who they really are. Love them. They are paying for your income. Okay. Promote and deliver the best dentistry for the value your training allows. That's 3. Don't cheapen that value. And all of us have different types of training. I don't place implants anymore. I promote implants, but I don't place implants. Why? Because I let the oral surgeon do that. It's just not fun for me. I like doing other things, though, that a lot of people don't do. So I deliver the best dentistry that I've been trained on. That's point 3. Point 4, achieve systems excellence in everything you do. Everything from getting rid of clutter in your practice and keeping your office clean to performing the best dentistry you can to everything, just every system that you put in place, write it down and achieve excellence in it. And last, stay current on technology and be relevant. We all love a good pep rally. Hopefully this podcast isn't a pep rally. Hopefully you're having a come to Jesus when I'm teaching you this stuff and you're going to listen to what I'm teaching you and be humble, unlike me. Okay? We all love it. I know what humility is. I try to stay away from it. Okay, that's my joke. You all know I want to do a stand-up one day. Of course, there's probably some truth to that. Anyway, we all love a good pep rally, and we go to these things, and we pay big money sometimes with consultants to go to a pep rally, and we see these in dental meetings all the time. But what happens when you get back to the office on Monday? Usually nothing. So are you a talker or are you a doer? Because greatness is a decision. It has to be chosen. If you have an impulse to act on a goal, you must physically move within 5 seconds of that thought, that impulse, or your brain will kill it. Unless you're as old as me, then you got about 1.5 nanoseconds to act on it because Alzheimer's is creeping in on me. Okay, it's looking each other in the eye and saying, I'm in. Are you in? Greatness requires making changes and doing hard things until they become easy. And then you recommit to those changes and decisions again and again. Every time I come across people and they learn about my background, they're like, man, Rob, you've done a lot of stuff in your life. It's amazing. And that's because I've always had this mantra. Most people say why, and I say why not? Why not learn more? Why not expand your knowledge base? And I love Yoda's quote. I don't know. Hope some of you are watching The Mandalorian, Baby Yoda. Oh my gosh, all the memes out there are cracking me up. Anyway, I love where Yoda said, try not. Do or do not. There is no try. All right, so that's my Yoda interpretation there. And that's what team development is all about. So going back to our experience out there in the nation's capital and listening to that wonderful leader talk about team development and team training, what it means to be a team, and that rowing experience. That was like something that was so powerful when I heard that. I'm like, that needs to be applied to dentistry, because so many team members, you got team members that try to do everything and try to be all that in practice, and then you got team members that slack. What it really comes down to, docs and team members, is everybody needs to be pulling those oars at the same poundage and pressure. And then as the team pulls the same, then you can start developing more muscle tone. You can develop more strength in the team to where the team is performing at optimal abilities. And anybody that tries to bully other people in the office, and I do mean bully them, don't do it this way. I'm doing it this way. This is the way I've always done it. I'm going to do it this way because this is the best way, and I don't need to learn any other way. You know? Yeah, that's not a team player. If you're that person, stop it. If you're that person, ask your fellow team members to give you some constructive criticism. And there is such a thing as constructive criticism. All you snowflakes out there and what you're taught out there in school, no. You need to have some criticism. You need to be taught, and you need to learn and be humble and be teachable. Because when you're teachable, no matter how long you've been doing this, when you're teachable, then you know that you can have a successful team. I'll tell you right now, I've been doing this since 1989, and if you include dental school before that, even longer. And there's not a week that goes by that I don't look at my sweetheart Tracy in the eye and I'm like, wow, what did we just learn? Can you believe that? We just learned blank, or we just learned something else. And it's just like being out in the nation's capital at that wonderful graduation, and I'm going, look at what we just learned from this speaker. Always be looking around you. Always be looking for things that you can learn and things that make your job more efficient and more profitable. Office managers, what's your job? Profits and profitability. That's it. Everybody needs to pull as a team. Doc, leadership starts from the top down. I hope you guys have enjoyed this podcast and work on that team development. Use this podcast in your trainings, because the things that you've been taught here, for those of you who've been through our training, is a good refresher. And for those of you who haven't been through our training, use this podcast, write it down, and make those teams of yours more successful than you already are. Thank you. Thank you so much for tuning into the My Practice, My Business podcast. You can find additional podcasts you may have missed that will help you with your dental practice at Apple iTunes Podcasts. And remember to become a subscriber to our podcast. Many of you have asked how to help support the My Practice, My Business podcast. If you have enjoyed the program and information you received today, the best way to help is to leave us a 5-star review. Thanks again for allowing us to be a part of your day.